recognize Representative Maloy from the great state of Utah for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi. In preparation for this hearing, I reached out to some of the local chambers of commerce and regional banks in my district that spend a lot of time working with small businesses, and a lot of their mission is to try to get small businesses up and running and stable to help these economies in rural Utah. And when I reached out and asked about this hearing, I got a lot of complaints about the SBA, and I've grouped them into a couple of broad categories that I want to talk about. So with the chambers of commerce, one in particular had an MOU with the SBA for trying to get SBDC assistance to a lot of the new and emerging small businesses, and they have gone through a lot of hurdles and hoops and made sure that people are registered with the right agencies and they filled out the right paperwork, and then they're not getting a lot of funding. And so it's been a frustrating experience for them that they were really enthusiastic about having this partnership and thought it was going to be really helpful, and now they feel like it's a bureaucracy without a lot of benefit. And then with the regional banks that specialize in lending to small businesses, they had a similar complaint. They feel like the SBA programs have a high cost of participation, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of hurdles, and then not a lot of benefit in the end. And so they don't feel like they can recommend them to their customers, but then with things like idle loans, the SBA is directly competing with these same banks that are there in the communities, trying to make sure that our main streets are vibrant, and then they're competing directly with a federal agency that's supposed to be helping and isn't really helpful. And so I'm going to start with the banks. How does the SBA view its role in relation to private banks, especially concerning direct lending initiatives that compete with private sector loans?
I believe that our business loan programs are one of the most incredible public-private partnerships in this country, where we SBA partner with the private sector lender. They, of course, deliver the loan, and we provide a government guarantee on that loan. I know you mentioned some of the lenders you spoke with said the programs were cumbersome, a little clunky, and that's feedback we've been receiving for decades at SBA. We did take action on that last year to reduce some frictions, especially for smaller dollar loans, but I believe there's more work to be done on that as well.
So what's the best way for lenders in Utah to give feedback to the SBA? Because they're right there on the ground. They're seeing what's not working. How do we get their feedback to you so that we can improve these programs?
Any lender who's interested in learning more about SBA loans, please send them my way to my team. We do have regularly quarterly calls on our key business loan programs where folks can submit questions, so lenders can submit direct questions. We have several different email addresses for each loan program where they can submit questions, and my team holds regular webinars providing information out to the lender community.
Okay, I'm going to have my staff follow up with you as soon as we're done here, because I think they would jump at this opportunity because they're really frustrated with how it's going. And then for the chambers of commerce, how does the SBA evaluate the effectiveness of partnerships like this, where you have an MOU with an organization and you've got mutual goals, but the smaller entity, the rural chamber of commerce or the local chamber of commerce, doesn't feel like it's mutually beneficial anymore? The SBA is a large federal entity. It's hard to adjust. How are you evaluating how those partnerships work and adjusting so that they work for local chambers?
So I'm not familiar with the particular MOU you're speaking about, and actually the SBDC program is largely run out of the Office of Entrepreneurial Development, so a different office at SBA. I'd be happy to refer those questions over. But I can tell you I recently took a trip to Alaska to visit one of our new SBLCs, McKinley Alaska Growth Capital, and there I also had the opportunity to visit some other lenders who support rural communities. They've got a lot of rural communities in Alaska, much like in Utah, as well as the rural communities and small businesses out there. And so I do have some good firsthand perspective on how hard it can be to serve rural communities, and SBA is extremely interested in helping our capital programs better serve those small businesses.
Well, from the people I represent, there's a lot of frustration that the potential's there for these to be really helpful, but the reality, it just isn't panning out. So I'm going to have my staff follow up with you. Let's see if we can get some of these things fixed. Thank you for your time. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.